Welcome everyone to What You Need to Know Wednesdays. This is a BNI regional event, and we actually have two regions here, Southeast Texas as well as Houston East. I'm trying to get this right. So welcome everybody. We're so excited that you're here with us today. And I want to tell you who we've got on the lineup. It would help immensely if I have my beautiful, lovely script in front of me. Y'all forgive me. All right, so on our lineup today, we're going to talk about, are you prepared? That's our theme. I got a lot of feedback from the audiences that we've had in the past about talking about estate planning and life insurance and Medicare. So I've got some great speakers coming to talk to you today. First up, we'll have estate planning. Yes, now, I named these myself. You're welcome to my speakers. So Erin, Callahan, and Alisa Hoggatt will be talking about that. Regina, I named yours Medicare EOL Planning, LTS Insurance, oh my. That will be our second topic. And then our third topic, delivered by Reno, Derosier, is life without insurance, no way. You guys like my stuff? Mm-hmm. I know, I don't get to be creative anywhere else, so what can I say? All right, so first up, my friend, Erin Callahan, and her friends, Alisa Hoggatt, are going to be talking to us about estate planning. So if you guys would please first introduce yourself, let us know the name of your business and also what chapter you're representing today, and you guys take it away.
Alisa, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm Alisa Hoggatt. I am part of the Master Business Alliance chapter in, I guess we technically meet in Webster, but you know, Clear Lake area. I'm the owner of the Hoggatt Law Firm, and we focus on estate planning, probate, and business planning. My office is in the Clear Lake area off of NASA Parkway.
My name is Erin. I'm a local attorney, and I own the law office of Erin C. Callahan. I am part of the Referral Masters BNI group here in Webster as well. My law firm focuses on wills, trusts, power of attorneys, and guardianship. And I mainly practice in Harris and Galveston counties, and my office is in the Bay Area as well. I know I can speak for Alisa. We're both really excited to be here today. And Tricia, thank you so much for the invite.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you, Tricia. So we thought we would discuss a common question that Erin and I both get asked all the time in our practice is, do I really need a will? So the short answer is yes. We often hear, well, I don't have anything, so why do I need a will? Or I just don't need one, I don't own anything. And I always respond to that with a couple of questions. So do you own real property? If so, you need a will. Do you have children? If so, you need a will. Are you a blended family? If so, you need a will. Do you own a business? If so, you need a will. And the list goes on from there. But you can see that really it's not just about what I own necessarily. There's a lot more involved in that and whether or not I need a will. So one of the biggest reasons I tell people that they need a will is if you do not have a will where you get the opportunity to decide how your estate is going to be distributed, guess what? The state of Texas has one for you. So, and oftentimes that's not in line with what your wishes are. So what I'm referring to is called the intestacy laws. And that just means you died intestate, which is without a will. You can even Google Texas intestacy laws. You're going to see some lovely charts that are created by our probate judges in Texas to see exactly what that means. But it basically details out a lot of different scenarios: married, children from that marriage, children from prior marriages, if you're single and you're survived by parents, siblings, nieces, nephews, etc. And the problem is with all of those charts, when I show clients those charts, 99% of the time, it's really not what they envisioned was going to happen to their assets. And it's one of the biggest reasons why you need a will, so you can actually have a say of where your assets go.
Thanks, Lisa. So one of the only times where we say, you know, someone might actually not absolutely need a will is in the instance of young adults. And so we'll just loosely say 18 to 25. If they're still living at home at 26 or 27, the same would probably apply. But it's those young adults that don't have any assets. So what does that mean? the car is in their parents' name. A bank account is listed as like a payable on death to their parents. Then a will, it may not be necessary for them. And I don't usually do them for that age category. However, the incapacity planning documents, which is like the power of attorney, the healthcare directives, your HIPAA, those are absolutely critical for this age group. And I recommend them to all my families that have young adults at home. That way we prepare their incapacity documents at the same time that we do the estate plan for the parents. So if you have a child, that's in that age group, then this is something that they need to be doing, especially if you're still helping them manage their affairs. So if they are over 18 and get in a car accident and you call the hospital to see if they are okay, the hospital will not give you their condition over the phone. Now, if your young adult has those proper incapacity documents over the phone, they will speak to you. Now, you might get a one-off nurse that would talk to you, but it's actually, there are, as most of you know, HIPAA laws and other things that there are fines attached to. So that's why they will not speak with you and give you updates about your young child. So that's why it's just mission critical to have those documents in place.
Absolutely. And, one of there's a lot of reasons why Erin and I talk about why you need an estate planning attorney to actually help you with those documents. But her and I recently did a video together, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I guess it was, Erin, about avoiding those, free online will and incapacity planning type of websites because they just do such a horrible job. But one of the big reasons why we think it's really important to have, an attorney like Erin or myself who do a lot of estate planning help you with your overall estate is we're looking to the future. So we make sure that your whole estate plan and incapacity planning documents are a cohesive plan. So we can do a lot more delving into details and things like that than you can on an online, program, things like that. And so our big goal is to avoid a lengthy probate process for the people that you leave behind. They're already grieving. We don't want to add more to their plate than we have to. So dying intestate without a will is such a headache. It can be extremely costly. Talking double, maybe even tripling the probate costs when you pass away without a will, where your estate has to be administered and transferred to your heirs. So the options in Texas when you pass away with a will, a valid will, are much more advantageous than if you passed away without a will. And so our big goal is to make sure that people are planning ahead now so that when they pass away, they're not leaving a total mess, a total extreme expense for their loved ones. And we want to make sure that the people who they've said they want their assets to go to, it actually goes to them in the most cost-effective way possible. And one of the reasons we talk about why it's so expensive, there's a bunch of reasons why dying intestate is expensive, but one of the examples that I talk about often is that the court is going to appoint an additional attorney in the probate process when you pass away without a will. And their sole job is to make sure that whoever you've listed out as heirs match up with those intestacy tables that I mentioned previously. So you get to pay 2 attorneys when you pass away without a will. So our goal as estate planning attorneys is to plan now to avoid that if at all costs.
So true. And, we really just want to help you plan for the future. And so one of the other things is, estate planning is not just about having a will or a trust. And when you hire an attorney, they help you with the whole process. Everyone needs to be organized. And so my question to everybody on this call is, raise your hand if you have a Facebook account or you pay one bill online. Okay. So surprise. You have an estate. So we do call that a digital estate, and it's not quite the same, but it's still critical. And I recommend to every single person that will listen to get a password manager. A password manager, it helps you determine how many online accounts you have and organizes them for you. And it saves you a lot of time in your life too. I mean, there's countless times where you forget a password. If you have a password manager, you don't have to memorize 100 passwords. You just have to memorize one password. So this helps you kind of get organized digitally speaking. Most password managers also have an emergency kit, which allows the person to, you select them and it gives them access to your online accounts if you pass away. And so do your research on which one's best for you. You know, we don't have a connection with any of these companies, but I definitely recommend taking a look at 1Password and Keeper because they're popular and because I know they have an emergency kit. The other thing is I also tell my clients to gather all their documents and put everything in one place. I know Alisa and I do it a little bit different. I have a binder and give some instructions for making sure that you put everything away for, you know, to protect against fire and water. And I know that Alisa has this nifty little waterproof pouch. So, but at the end of the day, it's the same message, which gather everything, put it in one place, keep it in a safe place, and don't put it in a safety deposit box unless you give someone a key that's not your spouse, so like a family member. That way they can get into the box when you pass away.
Yeah, because that actually becomes a big problem. Is Erin and I both get asked all the time, okay, well now I have my originals, where do I put it? And we have some suggestions for that in a video that we're doing coming up. But one of the big things we tell people is do not put it in a safe deposit box that someone else cannot access, because if something happens to you and your spouse, those are the only two people that legally have the authority to open that safe deposit box. And you're gonna have to petition the court to be able to open it. It just adds time and expense, and you know, again, when people are already grieving, that's not necessarily something we want to put on their shoulders. So one of the additional things that Erin and I wanted to make sure we talked about, given COVID-19 and kind of the theme of estate planning now, is making sure that people are updating two of their incapacity planning documents. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the medical power of attorney, and Erin's going to talk about the second one, directives to physicians. So because of everything that's going on with us facing COVID-19 right now, there is some additional language that needs to be added to people's medical power of attorney, whether you've never had one created or you have one that's a couple years old. But there's some language in there that we have clients that have been faced with a problem because of hospitals' current guidelines on who can accompany the person who's receiving treatment. They cannot have, a lot of times they are not able to have anybody with them. And so if you've appointed someone as your medical power of attorney, they are not able to be physically present to make medical decisions for you under that valid medical power of attorney. So we're having to add some language in there that those decisions can be made over the phone, through Zoom, FaceTime, other electronic measures. So I know Erin and I have been busy with that, making sure that people's medical power of attorney is updated to do that. One thing I want to note about that is you cannot literally take your pen and just go add it to your already current medical power of attorney. That makes it invalid. So don't get off this call and go handwrite it in and initial by it. That makes the whole power of attorney invalid. So it's got to be a new one that is redone, adding this language.
Exactly. And to speak a little bit more about the second document, which is the directive to physician. So this is the document where you make your end of life decisions, and it also needs to be updated. And the reason is it's in regard to the ventilator. So the ventilator, being used to treat COVID-19, which is a little bit different than we've necessarily seen ventilators be used before. So technically a ventilator is a life-saving device, but COVID-19 is neither terminal nor irreversible condition. So there's some additional language that we're adding to the directive to physicians. And so, right now, we really are trying to get the word out and just educate the community. And one of the things is definitely COVID-19 and the updates that need to happen to your documents. Alisa and I have also been dealing with some things that have come out of the Secure Act right before the CARE Act and COVID-19 started coming up. And so we're just really encouraging everybody to get the word out that your documents really need to be looked at by an attorney right now, no matter if you did them 3 months ago or 10 years ago.
Absolutely. So we hope this was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat screen, or if it's okay to unmute it for, I don't know how much more time we have, but you can put them in the chat screen. We're happy to answer them. And Erin and I are going to put our contact information in the chat screen if you guys have any questions that come up in the next weeks or months that come.
You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. What great information. So we have enough time for maybe a question if anybody has a burning desire. Otherwise, Lisa, thank you for telling people to put their information or their questions into the chat. And I would ask all of my speakers to please put your contact information into the chat window so that people can grab that from you as well. So anybody have a burning question they want answered right now?
So it looks like Dawn had a question. What was the document needed for 18 to 25-year-old children starting on their own? So that is going to be 2 different power of attorneys. They still need a medical power of attorney appointing you as their medical agent so that you can make decisions for them for medical affairs when they are not able to do so for themselves. And then the other one is it's called a statutory durable power of attorney. Erin, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so the statutory durable power of attorney, or we sometimes call it the financial power of attorney, is also really critical. So that's going to help with if they need help, with banking issues, insurance issues, they need to file a claim, anything that the medical power of attorney doesn't cover. And then Alisa also, I don't know about you, but I do the HIPAA authorization.
Yeah, along with the medical power of attorney, yes.
Yeah.
So that just allows the HIPAA authorization just allows us, whoever are named as the medical power of attorney, to be able to access medical records to make medical decisions. Sorry, I cut you off, Regina, I think.
That's okay. I have a quick question for you ladies, and thank you for the information you're sharing. A lot of my clients are listening in, so I appreciate it. It wasn't very long ago, a couple was in an accident. They didn't both pass away, but they could have, and they have minor children. What document is required where they can express which of their family members they want to raise their children and which family members maybe to take care of the financial aspects? What's that document?
So it can be technically 2. It's really called a declaration of guardianship, and it can be either done within your will or outside of your will in regards to guardian of the person. So that's the person who actually physically takes care, custody. Think of more an emotional role for something like that. You can also appoint a guardian of the estate, but what Erin and I usually recommend is in their wills. If they do pass away, the wills would spring to life and there would be trusts in there for the minor children. But if they are not passing away, if they're just in a consistent state of incapacity, it's a guardian declaration that's going to be outside of the will that names someone to take care of their person and their finances while they're incapacitated.
Thank
and
you.
Alisa and I do all of this in our estate planning packages. So it's kind of, we don't really do one-off forms because we want to make sure we plan for disability and for death, and they're different forms for both of those. So we have to plan for both, and that's one of the things that we help everybody with. So we plan for the digital estate, we plan for disability and for death all at one time.
That's great.
You guys are amazing. I saw a couple of other questions in the chat, and Alisa and Erin, thank you for attending to those already. If you guys have more questions, please throw them in there. If we have some time at the end, we'll open it up and we can ask more questions. Otherwise, we are in a BNI regional meeting. You guys schedule one-to-ones with each other, right? Learn about each other's businesses and get to know each other even more. So our next speaker, Miss Regina Wagner, is the owner and principal of AllThings Senior Consulting and a licensed insurance agent serving Texas for 24 years. Regina's passion for teaching, numbers, and problem solving began at an early age and led her to receive a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and a minor in psychology from the University of Houston. Over the years, Regina has witnessed her family, friends, and clients become financially and emotionally devastated from lack of insurance planning, and she's experienced firsthand the wonderful gift of love when proper planning was done. Miss Regina?
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here to share some information. You can imagine 24 years of being in the insurance industry, you learn a lot. It's a very complicated industry as well. Again, I'm Regina Wagner. I hold the Medicare and Supplemental Insurance Chair with referral masters. Woo! I am here today to talk about 3 tips that I want to share, again, having been in the industry for 24 years. Let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1, Medicare reviews are critical, and they should be done throughout the year, not just during open enrollment, but throughout the year. We've all heard about Medicare, right? Everybody in here knows someone 65 and older, right? Well, the real issue, or what I like to refer to, is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The real issue is the review. Folks, every day our seniors are saying, if it's not broke, why should I fix it? I like my plan, I'm set for life. That's a big problem. The truth is, you need to have regular checkups. Just like your regular health checkups, you need to also have Medicare checkups. Again, it's the review. I have a little tagline that I like to share with you if you don't mind, and it goes like this: plans change all the time. A free review and you'll be fine. So that's tip number 1, folks. If you know someone 65 and older, or maybe they're younger with a disability, but they're receiving Medicare, they need to get those reviews regularly. All right, tip number 2, leave memories, not bills. Life is full of uncertainties. A lot of you are my BNI chapter members and friends. You know that I lost 3 siblings. I lost my twin brother at the age of 26. 2 years later, my baby sister passed away. And then fast forward 5 years, my oldest sister lost her battle with breast cancer. So unexpected, traumatic events have not only happened to me, but they've also happened to friends, families, and clients. The coronavirus has created many uncertainties, right? Our norm today is not the same. However, passing away should not be one of those surprises. Yes, sure, we don't know the day, we don't know the hour, but we do know one day each of us will pass away. What saddens me is that still today, people are passing around the hat. People are seeking out GoFundMe programs. Why? Why should that be when we know this day would come, whether it's a year, 5 years, 30 years from now, it's going to happen. So ultimately, my recommendation is that people pre-plan and prepay. A lot of folks are not even aware you can do that. And so what I would encourage people to do is seek out a professional like myself that can help you with that process and bring peace of mind and resolution. So tip number 2, again, consider the gift of pre-planning and pre-funding your memorial. Leave memories, not bills. Tip number 3, long-term care planning is a part of all great plans. People seek their attorney's advice, their financial advisor's advice, their insurance specialist's advice. They need help and guidance on long-term care planning. So what do I mean when I say long-term care planning? Because it means different things to different people. Long-term care is when we get to a point in our life, whether we're young or old, but mostly as we age, it's when we can no longer do our activities of daily living. Think about the first few things you do when you get up in the morning. You get up and out of bed. You go to the restroom and toilet yourself. You take a bath. You dress yourself. You feed yourself, right? And you transfer from place to place. At some point in your life, you may have an illness, an injury, aging, that cause you to no longer be able to do some of these things. Long-term care planning allows you to sit and think, if this happens, what is my plan? Is it fair to consider your spouse as your plan? A lot of spouses can be older than ourselves and they have aging and health issues as well, right? Spouses may have predeceased us. We have to have a plan other than our spouse. And unfortunately, another default plan many people have by not planning are their adult children. What if their adult children aren't mentally, physically, or financially able to step up to that task? What if they don't want to? What if they don't live in the same state you live in? So I have to really get the word and the message out to think for a moment and create a plan in the event you become too sick or hurt or up in age and you can no longer do it yourself. Here's a statistic. 70% of people age 65 and older, think about that a moment, 70%, 3 and 4. 70% of those of us age 65 and older will need some type of long-term care service. That's pretty huge. Yet very few people have a plan in place when that happens. And so what this does is it makes long-term care the single most uninsured risk Americans face today. And so I want to end with tip number 3. Long-term care planning is part of all great plans. Still available, still can be affordable. And so again, I encourage everyone, do some planning.
Thank you so much, Regina. That was amazing. You always have such great information to share with us. So I have a question about the Medicare reviews. I know I had you come in and help my mom with her review, and she was really happy with her plan and maybe a little reluctant to schedule the review. So why are these reviews so important if a senior already likes the plan they're on?
Oh goodness, great question. There is a long list of why you want to do a review. For example, medication could change. That medication could at some point in the future no longer be in the formulary of the plan. Another example would be, what if your doctor chose to no longer be in that plan? If you didn't sit down and do a review or go over that stack of paperwork that they mail you, you wouldn't know. What if your preferred hospital of choice is no longer in network, right? So there's a ton of reasons. And most importantly, what if your health needs change? When you're young and healthy and independent, what you need your plan to cover is not the same for when you begin to have falls and you get to the point in life where you need to have rehabilitation or in-home health services. When your health changes, your plan needs to change with you.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you so much for helping myself and my mom, because we did find things that, that needed to be changed with her plan. So I have another funny question. It's not a funny question. It's a very serious question, but I know that you have some statistics on how many people choose a traditional burial over cremation. Can you talk about that for a second?
Absolutely. 20 years ago, traditional burial funerals outnumbered cremation, and it varies from state to state. Currently, direct cremations are fast becoming the most popular way. However, here's what I want to stress more than just the answer to that question, Tricia. What really matters is what each of us want, right? You may want, I think you and I talked on one of your podcasts, and you have guests that want cremation, but you also had guests like myself that wanted a traditional burial. The most important thing is to have the conversation. Let your family know what your wishes are. And once you document and share that, the chances of your wishes being carried out are highly likely.
That's great. Okay, so last question. I know I'm hogging the time here, so nobody get mad at me. Why don't more people plan for long-term care?
Gosh, why do people don't plan for long-term care? I would have to say the top two reasons would be, one, lack of understanding regarding Medicare. When I do Medicare reviews, most people think Medicare will fully take care of their long-term care needs, what we call custodial services, personal care services. There's a lot of misunderstanding because Medicare Part A will cover, it will cover short-term stays in a skilled nursing home or rehab. So you've got that misunderstanding going on. The second reason is a lot of people think it's too expensive. And unfortunately, if you've got a financial advisor, an insurance agent that's not very familiar with long-term care planning, they may create a plan with all the bells and whistles, and it becomes incredibly out of reach in terms of finances. If you work with someone that has a lot of years of experience, they can customize that plan and get something in your budget. And let me tell you, something is better than nothing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the wonderful information that you have given. If you would put your contact information in the chat window, that would be fantastic. And if anybody has follow-up questions for Regina, please ask in the chat window, or you can schedule a one-to-one with her. Erin, do you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. You know, Alisa and I deal with this as part of estate planning too, because I think there's so much misinformation out there about long-term care. And I try to tell people to look at it like your insurance plan. So with your estate planning, it's insurance. You're protecting your family against paying huge probate bills in the future. With long-term care, you're taking some of that financial assets that you have and just moving them over to the long care planning asset. So it's not, try not to look at it as money. I know that it can be expensive for some people, like Regina talked about that, but try to go at this process as holistic. I know that Alisa and I talk about all these things in our estate planning sessions, but it's just so important to sit down and talk through all of these points together at this, at the same time. And funeral planning too, we do dispositions of remains, which is a form where Regina and I kind of work together on some aspects, is because you list what your preferences are. So you put that in a legal document, and then someone like Regina helps you actually make the plans of the funeral, what the attorney doesn't do.
Absolutely. And Erin, I would imagine you and Alisa have clients that sometimes, because of their health situation, they go through a spin down, and seek to qualify for Medicaid. What people don't know is that you can actually, when you designate funds for funeral and pre-planning, those assets are not included in that spin down, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Not accountable assets.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, thank you so much again. And Erin, thanks for bringing in that extra tie on how you guys work together. So I'm super excited about our third speaker today, Reno Derosier. I know I told him I wasn't going to butcher his name, and I probably did, but it's okay, right, Reno? We're friends.
I told you I don't care.
We're friends. So I asked Reno to come and talk to us about life insurance, and what he may not know is I have a little blip from his BNI Connect page up here that I just wanted to read as I introduce him. So he helps people navigate a catch-22 situation, educating individuals and businesses in insurance so they may balance the capital expenses against potential liabilities and losses. Reno, talk to us about life insurance.
Well, part of it is we all tie together a lot because all these things are very important together. We talked about long-term care, and very much cash value in your life insurance policy can help you through that spend down if you end up in a situation where you're looking at Medicaid. And it's very important to sit down with a professional and review your policies. even your life insurance policies. I always ask people, do you have a policy, and are your coverages enough to take care of the rest of your life? That policy your parents bought you when you were 18 years old may not cover your needs right now. And there's a whole number of reasons to look at an annual or biannual review of your life insurance to see where you sit in your life. Our lives change. We get married, we have children, children move out, we end up with other responsibilities. As Regina was saying, and I'm catching on her coattails, we want to leave memories behind, not obligations. And insurance is helping mitigate those obligations to as little as possible while we weigh how much we want to spend. We have options of rewriting policies as you go on, as you get older in age. If you need more insurance, although it'll be more expensive for being a little older, the higher amounts may offset, and you may end up spending the same amount you're spending now for more coverage. We have a difference between term and whole life insurance, and there is a value and a benefit for each one and reasons for each one. You need to sit down with a professional who understands that and can help you find that balance and mix. We need a certain amount of life insurance to cover our expenses when we die. I am a firm believer in prepaid policies for our funeral because they go through a process. They make us think about what we want in our funeral, how we want, and set it out in directives so there's no questions on our family of how it's going to be. Same thing that the lawyers are going to do when we set out our estates, is making sure that stuff is taken care of. As life changes, our policies change. Regina will tell you there's a difference in life and the policies between today and even 5 years ago. There may be discounts applied for writing policies together under one carrier. There may be differences in coverages. The life insurance policy you had written 10 years ago may not have living benefits that can pay for medicine and other expenses at the end of your life, as opposed to leaving an estate to your family. You need to review your policy because not everybody is educated in what they're writing. Whether they sell or tell you, you want a professional to go over your policy and put you at a peace of mind that this is what you thought you bought. This is covering what you want. If it doesn't, does it need to be rewritten? Do you need a separate policy? What are those risks that you're going to take? And it's personalized. There's a mix in the policies. What is going to fill your needs at the price that is going to provide you the value that you need? And whether or not you want extra coverage. If you've just bought a house, do you want to get a life insurance policy to make sure that's paid off if something happens to you? What's the effect that's going to have on your family? And there are many other things. And when does your policy expire? I've had it happen with a number of clients. They didn't realize that their 10 or 15-year term didn't just go away. It became what was called an annually renewing term policy. Their rate's going up every year. After 5 years, they're like, where's this money going from my checking account? I'm not accounting for my bills. You want somebody to be able to review that to you, because then it becomes more expensive with each passing year. And that's in a number of policies. You may see rates go up and down. You want somebody to be able to explain that to you so you understand it, so you can make educated decisions on your policies. And as your life changes, maybe you want to convert your policy into something else. A term policy is going to expire after X number of years. Well, you still have a need after that. Do you have an option on your policy of converting that? That's very important, because your life insurance becomes more expensive as you grow older. That policy you bought 10 years ago, on a conversion, that's your health today. 10 years ago, I was a lot younger. I didn't have any heart problems. Now I've got high blood pressure. That policy I bought then, I can still convert now, that says I'm a lot more healthy than I am now, which is going to save me money, as opposed to somebody coming up and say, hey, we'd like to sell you another policy. With any insurance or any one of these things, you want to be in front of a professional who you know and trust is going to do the right thing for you. Because any of this stuff, you want the honest answer, not the answer you're looking for. And I covered the bullet points. I was a little short on preparing for this today.
No, you did an amazing job, Reno. And I think your last point is something that is really, really important, which is you need a professional in front of you. And I think making that connection with that individual is really important, right? You want to trust the person that you're buying that life insurance from. Does anyone have, so let's open it up, Reno, if that's okay for you. Regina, you want to start with the first question?
I do. Great job, Reno. Really appreciate the information. One of the things I'd love for you to speak to, literally just last week, I read a statistic that stated 70% of the people who have life insurance have it through their jobs. And we all know, due to the coronavirus, 30 million people sought unemployment. A lot of times that insurance is not transferable, or they don't take it as such. And so we've got all these people who, for whatever reason, did not think to have insurance outside of their jobs. Can you speak to that?
Well, there's a number of things with your group policy through work. One is, it is an annual policy. It gets renewed yearly. On any life insurance policy, the insurance company has a 2-year contestability. Did you misrepresent what was on the application? If you did, they can deny the claim. It is also what's called a working benefit. As long as you are working for wages, you are eligible to receive your group life insurance. If you are not in a working status, you'll still be paying premiums, but they can deny your claim. And that's whether you're on disability, if you're on family leave, if you're on anything other than your wages being paid for your work, that policy can be in jeopardy. Also, you don't have access to the policy. You don't, there are rare exceptions, but you won't know what the exceptions are, or what's not covered on your policy. Now, the reason your employer gives you a certain amount for free is there's a tax write-off for them. And that's welcome from the company. But for a grand majority of people, we can write a policy that is comparable to that, that's going to cover them for their needs. It may be a term policy for a period of time. It may be a conversion to a whole life policy. But if it's not yours, you don't have control on it. You don't have a say in it. And for most of us, we want that security of knowing what's in our hand and what's going on with that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. So while we wait for the next question, Reno, I failed to ask you what region and chapter you were in. So would you please tell us?
Well, my regional owner is on the call today, and she is also a member of my chapter, which just gives our name even more meaning, because I'm a member of the BNI All-Stars in Beaumont, Texas.
That's wonderful. Wow, you drove a long way to be here with us today.
Yeah, 10 feet from my bed.
All right, does anybody have any other questions for Reno?
Tricia, I have a couple of comments for all 4 of the professionals that spoke this morning. One of the challenges that they face, as well as every financial professional faces, is what is this going to cost? A typical thing that we can share with friends, loved ones, coworkers, whatever, that might be concerned about the potential cost is, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. All 4 of these individuals, you can tell in just the short time that we've communicated over this call with these 4 professionals, they have a heart of a teacher. And when we go to another person that is connected in our lives, whether it's professionally or personally, if we have the attitude, professionals, if we have the attitude, I'd much rather you tell them, no, thank you, I'm not interested, as opposed to the nightmare of a connection to ours, or worse, a family member saying, well, I wish I would have known about that. And that's the position that we're all in. Obviously, this whole economic situation everybody's lives has been affected by what we're all going through. We all now have permission to address this with the people that we're connected with in our lives. It doesn't mean that we have to be pushy. It doesn't mean that we have to be nosy or ask them, hey, do you have a will or anything else? But we do have permission to say, hey, do you have everything in order, you know, or whatever. And all four of these individuals can help you with those things to say to help tee it up. But cost should not be an issue because these individuals are not hard sellers. And so as long as they're able to teach a loved one, a family member, a friend, what benefits they can offer, then I think that's where the gold is.
Thank you, Jason, very much. We
Thank
really
you, Jason.
appreciate that.
I want to share something real quick with what Jason mentioned. And gosh, I wish I had brought it up earlier. Thank you, Jason. It's actually more costly. You know, when people are really trying to get the cheapest, the lowest, the, you know, online wills, it actually costs them more by not going to a professional than when they go the cheap way. So great comments.
Yes, I actually tell people that on the probate side of my business, I love it when people have done their own wills because that's, I mean, I don't really love it, but that, I mean, you know, probate attorneys, when we get a will in that was done online, more often than not, it's not valid. And so, you know, it's just it makes probate attorneys more money, but it costs your loved ones way more. So, you know, I say that a little facetiously, but I mean, I would much rather probate wills all the live long day that are valid than the heartache and economic burden that it costs people when they have not planned correctly with something that they thought, okay, well, this is free, so I'm going to do that instead. And it ends up doubling, tripling the cost that it would have otherwise.
Absolutely. So I'd like for everyone to unmute. I've got a couple of housekeeping things. Reno, if you will put your contact information into the chat window, that would be amazing so people can reach out to you. And either Erin or Alisa, if you guys could put the link to the video that you've been talking about on the online will thing in the chat window, that would be amazing as well. So unmute, and we've got 10 minutes left. Open floor.
Tricia.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to share to our BNI family, all of you out there that are listening, we're on this panel, like Jason said, because we want to share some pearls of wisdom, right? Right now, we're wearing our coach hat. But it doesn't matter if you're surviving out there or thriving. I want to encourage each of you to get in the habit of seeking advice from advisors, from experts. In fact, think of it this way. Exceptional athletes would never think of not having a coach. And it's just like that for business owners. For those of you who don't have a business coach, Tricia is our host today. She is an exceptional business coach. Again, whether you're surviving or thriving, she is going to give you so much that will positively impact your bottom line. And so I just had to share that every time I meet with Tricia, I walk away with more than what I expected. So Tricia, I just had to give that to you.
Thank you, Regina. I'm blushing. I feel it. It's really hot in here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You guys, there's a lot of brain power on this call. Use it. We've got 10 more minutes. If you've got questions or want to comment.
I just want to say the same thing for Reno that I kind of did for Regina, just to connect everything all the way through. You know, as part of the estate planning process, you know, we ask our clients if they have life insurance, and that becomes, you know, something that we have to give them some instructions on so that they list their beneficiary designations correctly with life insurance, with 401ks, with, you know, all of those types of things. And I try to say estate planning is kind of the central zone, but then you have to kind of go down and dig a little bit bit deeper with your financial advisor, and, you know, making sure if you're over 65 with your Medicare professional like Regina, and with your life insurance with Reno. It's so important that all of these plans coordinate. And I know the estate planning attorney is usually the one kind of facilitating that, but I would also just encourage those other professionals on the phone too, you know, to ask some of those questions to your colleagues when you're meeting with them. You know, it ties back to everything. If you're a banker, if you don't have, you know, do you have a will? I mean, you're taking out these PPE loans and all of these things, but do you have someone that, you know, you're connecting with, you know, for a will? Do you have someone that you're connecting with for life insurance? All of these things just really go together, and you want to have a unified plan.
I have a question. And I don't know about you, but I know when I do my intake, I ask for people's professional relationships. So who's your banker? Who's your financial planner? Who handles your life insurance? And that way we get to see gaps of who doesn't have this. And we also take an asset information list so we can kind of see where people need to be connected. And I would encourage everybody to do something like that in your businesses, because then it's a twofold thing. You're able to refer to people who you know and trust, but you're also helping your client make sure that their whole puzzle is complete too, for whatever whatever those holes are that they need.
Absolutely. Dominique, I saw you. Come on, girl.
Yeah. So my question is, and I don't know if you guys did answer it, so I apologize if I wasn't hearing that, but my question really would be, how often should that be reviewed? I mean, throughout life, like as I'm building a business and I have life insurance, I have, stocks, I have, these certain things, I have estate planning in place. How often are you supposed to go through it to be able to say, like, okay, well, since my business has grown, since I've gotten older, health may not be the same. Like, what is a trigger that says, I need to meet with you, Regina, again? Maybe I need to meet with you, so-and-so. Like, how do I know I need to, like, review it and increase, decrease, that kind of thing?
I mean, not to speak for the group, but to speak for the group every year. So much changes in your life as far as your financial stuff, to be transparent, probably quarterly, depending on what you're invested in, or even monthly. That's not my area, so I'll let a financial person speak up. But clearly every year, I tell my clients, January 1st rolls around, you need to reach out if we're not already reaching out to you, and kind of revisit these things. Because the plan that you have at 18, once you buy your first house, you're going to need a new plan. If you have a baby, you're going to need to make some changes. Once you get older, if somebody passes away, you're going to have to make changes. Facing retirement, kind of once you hit the 50 mark, that's a great time that you want to start really making that decision about long-term care. So you need to be in community with all of these professionals. If you own a business, every year for sure. That's a great question.
So that philosophy, I was in a situation where I was always, you said it and forget it. And that is what you're saying is no. Okay.
That is a no.
Yeah. In an ideal world, it would be.
I'm done.
Yeah. In an ideal world, it would be every year. But I also tell people that, Jason and I talk about this with clients all the time, is not only once a year, but I also want to be contacted when life changes.
Yes.
So if you get married, if you have babies, if you get divorced, if you come into an inheritance, if you've lost someone, you buy or sell a business, we really need to be looking at your plan. And that also involves more than just me or Erin for estate planning. But I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces that need to be looked at, not only once a year, but when those life changes happen as well.
Perfect. Yes.
Well, and I can tell you guys, I have my husband and I have a friend who unfortunately passed away at a young age of 38. He had recently divorced within like 2 years, and he was with his parents, but the ex-wife still went after the life insurance money because he had not updated his beneficiary. And so it actually set in an account while they worked through the legal system, and they were able to get that money because they had been divorced for so long. It was a mess. It was an emotional train wreck for his aging parents, because he was 38 when he passed. So his parents were knocking on 70. It was a train wreck for them emotionally. So now they've lost their son, and then they had to fight for this. And I think it was $200,000, but for them, it was the point,
Absolutely.
So it was a nasty divorce. There are no kids involved. It's crazy. So definitely update that
Yeah,
life
divorce
happenings.
Divorce is one of those key ones because there's some things that the state laws will act as if the wife was not listed, but there's a lot of things that they won't.
Right.
That they will not.
And employer plans are one of them. And so I've had that happen a lot in my probates, where this example I give is one I talk about for a lot of reasons because it had pretty much everything go wrong with it that you could think of. But the guy was married 5 times, and his first wife was still named on his 401k, and we're talking millions.
Yeah.
And it went to his ex-wife, who he was probably rolling over in his grave that she saw a penny, because they had been divorced for 30 plus years, had no children together. So that's a big life change that we want to make sure we update everything on.
And this is key. This is really testament to Erin and Alisa. You know, when you work with estate planning attorneys that look at the big picture, they're not just trying to do their one little piece and on to the next. They're really looking at the whole. And that's why it's so important to connect and get advice from experts that care, because even if you are having a life event, you may be emotionally gone, you may be financially gone, but you've got another person looking out for your best interest. And what a difference it makes. I love when I get a phone call from Erin, or if I get a phone call from professionals and they are reaching out to me because or on behalf of their client. Great.
And I have a comment. First, thank you all. I learned a lot. We have some very wise people here. And I also wanted to comment that Reno and I are in the same chapter, and he has a wealth of information as well and passionate about what he does. And I cannot believe you did not have to tell him to stop talking. If you get an opportunity to have a one-to-one with him, you will learn a lot. So I really am surprised he had so little to say.
He was put on a time limit, Bonnie.
Oh.
Thank you, Bonnie. We had that discussion yesterday, so.
I gotcha. There had to be something to it.
We like to equate Reno to our Mark Taylor. We don't put him on much of a time, you know. He's free to chat it up.
On a schedule. Yes. Well,
yeah,
guys,
it's hard to keep him on a schedule.
Yes, we're at the end of our session today. I do record every single one of these sessions. I've been putting them into a YouTube channel. I pasted that link into the chat window if you want to grab it. If you can't grab it out of there because you can't copy and paste, shoot me an email and I will send it to you. You're welcome to share it with everyone you know. It does not just have to be a BNI person. We have a lot of brain power here. And we've had a lot of great speakers with great information on this particular regional event. Remember to put your CEU in. You get 1 CEU for spending an hour with us. Erin, Alisa, Regina, and Reno, thank you guys. You're amazing. And I hope that you will all connect and have a one-to-one with someone in this room today. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.